January 19th, 2022. Halfcast 224, episode 224. Let's go. Of course, I have a few things to share with you guys. An evening of reflection. Shall we? FTC tells sellers to stop making false claims about curing COVID. Right before I started the show, I had an article about people using Benadryl and milk to treat COVID or prevent COVID. People have been selling snake oil for hundreds of years, and it's not going to stop with this. Benadryl and milk. The Federal Trade Commission is cracking down on sellers falsely claiming their products can prevent or cure COVID-19. In a statement Wednesday, the FTC, which enforces customer protection laws in order to prevent fraud or deception in advertising, said it sent cease and desist demands to 25 companies that claim their products can prevent or cure COVID-19, despite lacking any proof required by law to make such claims. Yeah, use the aspirin and the cold spoon to get rid of hickeys. Products from sellers listed in the FTC's press release include vitamin C infusions, peptide therapies, herbal remedies, teas, supplements, and ivermectin. Ivermectin has a spot coming up on the show very soon, an anti-parasitic medicine for animals that has brought on its own set of lawsuits. The sellers have 48 hours to notify the FTC of the specific actions they have taken to address the agency's concerns or risk being sued over the COVID-19 Consumer Protection Act. Companies that make deceptive claims about treating or preventing COVID-19 are subject to a $43,792 penalty per violation. Most of the demands were sent to companies using social media to promote their products. And in those cases, the social media company was also notified. The FTC said, I am very sure there are herbal remedies out there that the FDA and the CDC just don't know about. But that guy that's using a penis in his avatar as an elephant trunk, it's not him. These pop-up sites on social media are not it. And as far as snake oil goes, we've had people over these hundreds of years tell you that rhinoceros horns and elephant tusks cure impotency. They've been hunted to near extinction, and you still have half the world can't get it up. Draw your own conclusion. Oh, because we're not done. New Hampshire pharmacies could soon dispense ivermectin without doctor approval. Over the counter, baby. If you're the United States government, you're just spinning your tires fighting against it because people are going to continue to use ivermectin. And it seems like the more you tell them not to, the more it makes them want to. So just hit the goddamn course and knock a few strokes off your game. Be the neglectful parents that we know you can be and let them sell the ivermectin. New Hampshire residents may soon be able to receive ivermectin from pharmacies without first getting a prescription or approval from a doctor. Proposed legislation titled House Bill 1022 would allow pharmacists to dispense the drug, which some believe can treat COVID-19, even though it lacks approval for such use from the Food and Drug Administration by means of standing orders. Under the law, pharmacists would be able to dispense ivermectin under the delegated prescriptive authority of the physician or APRN, advanced practice registered nurses, specify a mechanism to document screening performed and a prescription in the patient's medical record, and include a plan for evaluating and treating adverse events according to the bill. Buy it over the counter. Stop making things difficult. Also, if you're the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, you get to pick what loss you want to take. Do you want people taking ivermectin out of their neighbor's barn that they use on their horses? or do you want to at least control where they're getting it from? Any such prescription shall be regarded as being issued for a legitimate medical purpose in the usual course of professional practice. The pharmacist will also be required to provide any patients who receive ivermectin with a standardized information sheet written in plain language disclaimer that provides healthcare referral information and notes the importance of follow-up care. Nothing on the information sheet shall discourage the recipient from using ivermectin for the treatment of COVID-19. The bill read, according to the legislation, the measure would take effect 60 days after it was passed. The FDA has not approved ivermectin for the treatment of prevention of COVID-19 in both humans and animals, according to its website. It's, however, approved for human use to treat infections caused by some parasitic worms and head lice and skin conditions like rosacea. Ivermectin is not an antiviral. COVID-19 is a virus. Ivermectin is not a drug that's known to fight viruses. It's meant to fight parasites and skin conditions. Just thought I'd float that out there. The agency said that while clinical trials to assess the effectiveness of ivermectin against COVID-19 were taking place, current data does not indicate that is the case. It also said that taking large doses of the drug is dangerous and instructed anyone who receives an ivermectin prescription to fill it through a legitimate source, such as a pharmacy, and take it exactly as prescribed. I'd like to believe the standard of care here in New Hampshire is that a patient could get a prescription for ivermectin off label as long as that patient ideally gets put into some clinical trial, whether it's a drug company or whether it's an academic institution like Dartmouth. Dr. Nick Parincevic, a retired general surgeon, said during his testimony. I actually think it's a good idea. Give it to the people who are willing to take it instead of doing sneaky things like forcing inmates to take ivermectin because you're trying to get data and a clinical study on it. And I believe it's also important to buy from places that you can trust because all I picture is a guy in a dark alley opens up his jacket and there's just plastic tubes of undisclosed liquid or paste, whatever, selling it in shady areas. Jogger, trained in martial arts, fends off attacker who planned to kill him. You didn't plan well enough, my friend. Florida man Logan William Smith has been charged with attempted murder after allegedly trying to strangle a jogger on Sunday. You're dealing with murder. Attempted means failed. According to the Florida newspaper, investigators with the Brevard County Sheriff's Office called the attack calculated. Not calculated enough. Authorities said Smith first noticed the jogger about 6 weeks ago, though it was not clear why Smith targeted the man. The authorities said Smith hid behind a light pole armed with a rubber mallet an Axe aerosol deodorant can and a belt. This is me hiding behind a light pole, waiting for somebody to jog past so I can ambush him. A killer who can't decide on his weapon is not really a killer, is it? When the jogger, who has not been named, ran past the light pole, Smith reportedly attempted to strangle him with the belt. According to an arrest report, Deputy Carson Hendren said Smith had planned to drag the jogger's body onto a bed sheet he laid on a nearby driveway, then to place the body in his closet, where the defendant stated no one would know, and the defendant could have the victim's body all to himself. Oh, a deputy report said the victim had been jogging while listening to music while he was choked out of nowhere. Obviously, this particular case turned out well, but not even dealing with jogging, people do not have your headphones into the point where you're just oblivious to everything that's going on around you. Smith's alleged plan was foiled when the man, who was not seriously injured, used his martial arts training to defend himself. In the arrest report, Smith said he was motivated to ambush the jogger after watching a violent movie, though records did not specify which movie. Florida Today added Smith is currently in custody at Brevard County Jail Complex. He wanted something out of a movie. He got exactly something out of a movie. Somebody used karate to kick his ass. Brain scans could replace breathalyzers in determining cannabis impaired drivers, study finds. What would somebody on cannabis brain scan look like? I suppose a snail crawling over a speed bump. It's no secret that consuming marijuana affects driving skills. However, accurately proving that a driver is impaired as a result of cannabis consumption has been a challenge for toxicologists and research for years. The main issue has been that, unlike alcohol, impairment from cannabis cannot be determined by a single measure. More specifically, the results of a recent study conducted that researchers at the University of Sydney's Lambert Initiative indicated that blood and oral fluid THC concentrations are relatively poor or inconsistent indicators of cannabis induced impairment. Have you ever seen somebody who smoked pot before? They don't even produce saliva anymore. You have nothing to test. And non invasive brain imaging detect cannabis impairment. Perhaps a new study published in the journal Neuropsychopharmacology. Yeah, has found that cannabis impairment can be detected from according to the brain activity on an individual level, the Harvard Gazette writes, known as the functional near infrared spectroscopy. Yeah, twice. A non invasive brain imaging procedure proved to be an objective and reliable way to identify those with performance impaired by THC. Doesn't that take too long? By the time you get somebody on the machine, they won't even be high anymore. The study included a total of 169 cannabis users who underwent FNIRS brain imaging before and after receiving a dose of oral THC or a placebo. Free weed, man. As a result, those who experienced intoxication after using oral THC showed an increased oxygenated hemoglobin concentration in the brain's prefrontal cortex. All subjects received the same dose of THC. However, a variety of impairment measures were recorded, which further affirmed the discordancy between THC concentrations and impairment, the researchers pointed out. As we showed that there was no difference in THC dose between those who became impaired from those who did not follow THC, it is likely that a brain or behavior based metric, e.g., eye tracking or cognitive testing, rather than a per se blood or oral fluid limit of THC, is required to distinguish THC impairment from simple exposure. The researchers conclude in the study, future work is warranted to determine if observed brain signatures are specific to THC intoxication related impairment or are a more general signature of impairment. So, officers, if you ask somebody for their license and they give you a library card and a bag of fruit roll-ups, you don't have to take them in for a brain scan. Fun show, fun show, fun show. That being said, I'm going to wrap this one up, but I'll be sure to talk to you guys very, very soon. Adios.